Dive on in.
I think we're rolling. That's what seems to be the case.
La, 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 la.
Yeah, well, no, that was a crazy story. Gabriel was just telling me, and welcome back to Deep Balls with Brandon Rogers, and I'm joined here with Gabriel Gonzalez, cameraman extraordinaire, and Jonathan Hinman, producer extraordinaire as well. You're both extraordinaires to me.
With the right name.
And love you guys both so much. And today, we got a great topic. Today we're talking about traveling and adventures and strange stories that we've had on the many roads among our lives. And we're three very different men, both in color and stature.
And Creed. Do you fit Creed in there?
No.
Okay. Yes. And I'm very excited to hear where they've been. I've been to many places. First of all, who here has traveled more between the two of you?
Me.
Let's get complicated.
Actually,
now.
It's probably Gabe, but it's close.
But I heard you travel.
I've been to multiple places that were not America.
John, I
my
believe
perspective is pretty good.
Interesting there, Gabriel. He might have you on the ring. Yeah. What about you? You've lived in many places yourself, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what are we talking about here? We're talking about good stories?
Traveling. How well traveled, how many miles you have.
Yeah.
Oh, well... All right, then fine. Maybe I have.
I grew up a military brat. I lived in Alaska. That's pretty far away. That counts for a lot. I've also visited Europe.
Oh, okay. He's visited Europe. What? Oh my God. They're giving us these seltzer waters. And,
thank God.
Let me tell you, they pack quite a punch in your chest right before you go on the mic. I've traveled quite a bit as well. I've been to, I went to France. And that was a very fun place. And it was. I used to date.
What would you say about French people in general?
Yeah. Well, French people, I don't think they liked me very much when I went over there. I think they liked me at first, and then they heard me speak. And they either heard me speak English, and it was either they laughed at me, or they just kind of dismissed me, or they would hear me try to speak French, and they hear my accent, and they would kind of have not the best connotations toward Americans.
God, they're cool.
Aren't they so much cooler than us? But here's the thing: I wasn't in a touristy area. I stayed in Montpellier. I never got it right, but I stayed. It's very south of France, and just above Spain, and it is. It's not very touristy like you would think, and it's not like Paris. It's a lot of wineries and farms, and
there is an image of that for me though, like where like you like in the countryside of France, wine country, there is where I keep my father.
Yeah. Keep my father in his olives.
Wait, you've never heard that? You have that imagination?
I had dinner at these people's house, and they were talking about they were like, oh yeah, we've been having these mushroom thieves. Like what the fuck? And they were like, and I was like, oh, what is this? Is that a code for something? Right. No, like they come over and they'll take our mushrooms.
And take our mushrooms.
And they go, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, just go to the goddamn pick and save and get a goddamn pack of portobellos.
Right. What are you talking about?
No, it's they have different. There's different. It's just a different culture. The culture shock was huge. It was the first place in Europe I've ever been to, and I was only, I think I was like 19, 20 at the time. I went by myself, so it was just a big culture shock.
That's a really nice time to go out.
Yeah,
right out. It's like you're just ending a whole experience of maybe like high school.
Right.
And now you're like, all right, I'm gonna take on the world.
It was my first taste of adventure in adulthood, I should say. I went to France. I went to France to find love, and
as one does, right? Like
when my heart was big and hungry. Yeah, and instead, I found baguettes and wine, and I just drank and ate bread most of the time I was there. Yeah. And it's funny because there were certain stereotypes that held true. A lot of the houses that I stayed at, they had just baskets of baguettes hanging on their kitchen door.
You're like, we get it. Like you're quaint.
You're French. We get it.
Cool.
Okay.
Who eats that shit though? It's there's a lot of them there because nobody's eating them. It's just for decorative.
Yeah. No, it's.
That's not how we use it. Never mind. I'm putting my own. Like this is France. I've been there in my mind. No, I actually was there though.
Yeah, you.
I've been to France.
You've probably been to more places.
As a Francais. I know.
What was your take on France?
Yes.
Okay, so I went with a friend, and he was Canadian, like from Quebec. Right, and so I don't know why he got into his head.
Okay.
I was living in Amsterdam. Maybe that made it like possible in his head. But he came and visited me. He's like, I'm gonna check out a school in France, and I need to go tomorrow. So I was like, okay. Because like in Europe, you can take it like a train,
right,
and get to places. And the idea was to get there, maybe like sleep on the train, go to this school. He had already set up like an interview,
right,
and then come back on the train the same day.
Wow.
So that we would never stay there. We didn't have to like rent out a hotel. We didn't have no car. You know,
it's also weird to just say in your head, especially not having been there, to say, "Oh, we're going to France and back." You know, like that's,
in a day.
To them, maybe that sounds normal. That sounds fucking crazy to me.
You forget that you can actually do that in those type of places because it's all interconnected. And it's like, you know, as America, if you're in Florida and California, that's the, you know,
right.
Yeah. Europe is that, you know.
A lot more countries and smaller space.
Many more cultures and countries.
We're all just a bunch of fractured cookies.
So we go, and I remember it was like really early in the morning, and we have to go to. It wasn't. I'm living in Amsterdam, but it wasn't necessarily like one direct train. I think we had to go to like some country. Like we had to stop in some one of those ghetto countries. No, not ghetto country. Just countryside. Maybe what you were saying about France. It's like, it's not Amsterdam now. We're talking about like the Scotland,
a really native place.
And
yeah,
shit.
No one's there on holiday.
Scotland on their way from.
You're in some place that you probably flee to on some 28 days later bullshit where there's nothing out in the middle of a.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, if the end of the world is going to happen, that's not a bad spot.
Right.
People come from a distance.
Okay, so you're in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
In the middle of the sheeps, I'm assuming, and trees.
We take a train, and we're pretty tired. Maybe I took a nap. Maybe I looked out the window every now and again. Whatever. But eventually, we're in France. And now it's like, okay, now the reality of what we just decided to do for the day. It's like, oh shit, I'm in France. And yeah, we were able to do it, but I'm still here now. So we're walking. I remember like one of the first things.
Still smells like assholes.
The fucking assholes. I think there were like a few things that stuck out. First one was that the country felt orange.
Oh,
I don't know how to describe.
Almost like a filter, maybe,
like a filter.
Perhaps.
Like if you put an Instagram,
like an autumn filter.
Yes,
nice.
Autumn filter. That would be the one.
Like those sunglasses that I have.
Yes, that's the one. So it's like you walk out, and the architecture is kind of glowing in the sun, and it just had a feel to it. So I was like, okay, that's different. Definitely, a country has a color. And then we're walking. And I remember just feeling like we were in like a labyrinth of like cobblestone streets and like very narrow buildings.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know,
the alleys were very narrow.
Yeah, like that's my part of it. I don't know what the country is, but what I was seeing was that it just felt like very narrow streets and then very
and there wasn't like straight streets anywhere. They kind of crookedly went off like veins.
And I imagine because like if you were to go back when this country was probably the streets were probably getting made, and these buildings were made, it was probably like carriages maybe, and like they didn't have
interesting
grid systems. Maybe it was more like
all those cities came about without like a city planner guiding the way they were going to plan their expansion. It was like that was chaotic for 1,000 years.
It really places like that that I saw out there really like brought to my mind just how much as Americans we take for granted an old piece of architecture because we don't know old architecture out here. Like nothing out here is more than 200 something years old,
and we destroyed a lot of it throughout the time.
destroyed most of it. Yeah,
and a lot of the stuff that was made out in this country is mass produced or for the sake of expansion, not for the sake of culture, or for the sake of character. So you go out there and you see these ancient relics, buildings that have so much character and depth to them, and it really is enlightening to kind of realize that the world is so much deeper than just seeing some ghost town and thinking, oh, this is an ancient, Wild West. Oh, this is ancient beings once here.
That's a good point. Like a ghost town might not exist like that in those places. Right. It's like, no, there's history here. Like America, you can feel like a ghost town would be like.
There's history here, but I'm saying that in Europe, history
over there in France.
Oh, yeah. They have castles that are just the casually among the highway side. I remember we'd just be driving down. Oh, yeah, there's a castle over there. A castle? Like, are we in a fucking Disney movie right now? Oh, there's just the castle of the East with the Fire King.
That's the Dukes and this.
It was sieged 3 times between.
I did have a sense of that. There was, like, for example, if I was going to go through the United States and go to some place in like the Civil War, I wouldn't even necessarily know, But I feel like the history of their cult, like it's evident. I think over here they maybe had statues of the Civil War, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I'm talking on my ass. I've never seen the how they do it over here, but you feel it.
Right. I know what you're saying.
It's such a big country, but over there, it's huge there. but it's there.
A lot more has happened in the time, in the last.
You feel the history.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Feel the history walking down those streets, and you can't help but conjure up in your mind like what it must have looked like.
Right.
Like I had images of like what were like soldiers and carriages and
right.
Right. A lot has happened in this space.
Revolutions.
And like huge, directional shifts in the story of humanity have happened there. Whereas here it's like World War II is a big deal, but that was pretty yesterday.
Right.
Comparatively.
That's the whole. Never mind. We could talk about France and all this history forever. But yeah.
Well, hey,
that's what it is.
It's a real place with real history and a lot more than we have here.
All right. So here's a bit of history, and I debate telling this because it just shows my ignorance. But second thing that stuck out was how many people of color were in France. Because I'd never been there, and I just thought of France as like white. I know it sounds crazy, but it's like that's how I saw it. It's like I'd never been there. All the movies, all the culture, the history that we've been talking about was white. So then when I saw how many people, it was like it stood out. Stood out, and I was like, "Holy shit! It's a fucking."
I think I know what you're talking about. Like for me, it was a little. I was surprised to see that there were only 3 real ethnicities there where I was staying. There was either very white, very black, or very brown.
Right, Middle Eastern.
Yeah, but there were no hues of yellow or red,
right,
or other. It was just 3 shades of Maybelline,
like Moroccan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, it blew my mind.
And so definitely ethnically, it was not what I think we were the picture we were painted as children.
Which is kind of interesting because there should have been no reason why I didn't know that before I got there. That also speaks, like, how like we speak about America oftentimes as like the only place that has problems of representation or like that somehow like Europe has figured it out because they've been around longer. And I was like, little unfair because when I look at any culture that I've ever lived in or seen, you can sense that there's something here too.
Right.
Like if we put a magnifying to there's something strange. I didn't know that there were people of color in France.
Right.
How the fuck, Well, maybe it's my own ignorance, so it's also my own ignorance. I'm ignorant, but
It's okay. It's okay. Hey, you know what? I applaud actually the fact that you're able to say that out loud. I have a hard time admitting my ignorance almost all the time.
Oh, we'll help you.
There are some places though that do stand or that do live up to the expectation. Like we went to London for a couple of their VidCon Summer in the City. We went there a couple of years in a row and.
That was fun.
Oh my God, that city was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
I remember you saying that, and in a way for me too. But yeah, go on.
Well, I think we the first night we got there, we went to Big Ben, and then just went like a block from there and got meat pies.
Oh yeah,
got fucking meat pies and beer.
Yeah, I think we even went on that wheel.
We went on, the London Eye,
right?
But just everything is right. It really does feel like someone just asked me to draw up what London looks like to me if I've never been there, and that was like what I would have come up with. It was just there's Big Ben, there's London. Everything was so condensed right there, and like the food on like every pub menu was exactly what I figured it would be. And I don't know, it just and I just had it was one of the most fun cities I've ever visited. I am sad we didn't go this year.
We did make an effort too. I do remember like we would
I'd have to sign. They were going to make me sign a contract if we go back there. They said they'd feature us as creators this year, but I would have to sign a contract saying that I would not bring the Grandpa character back to London.
Which is if you think about it, very silly because like why not talk about something that other people can now know? Oh, there's a place in London or in England that. I like that. I like events like this. Like there's cross promotion here.
Yeah, but I understand them saying that. Just that's just an X Factor ruckus of a nakedish person.
It did feel like a rite of passage that they acknowledged because the whole. Okay, just those of you who don't know about this, because I've talked about this at some of the live shows. The whole reason I don't know. We shot the Grandpa video over the course of like 2 years. We went there 2 different years in a row, and we didn't get enough footage the first year around. We got kicked out the first time, and then the second time we went back, we still weren't featured creators. And, even when I wasn't playing the Grandpa character, when I was just myself, signing autographs, they would tell me to like, please leave the building because my line was causing a fire hazard. So there was nowhere for me to like and lines would just form anywhere we would walk. So it's like, essentially it was like, you're either not going to cause a line or you're going to have to get out of here. And so, I don't know. I was like feeling like they don't even like know who we are, and so then it gave me a little bit of fuel, albeit very petty fuel and very immature fuel, but it like personally fueled me to do a video where I was quite disruptive to this event that didn't acknowledge our presence 2 years in a row, so I did a lot of bits where I'm running around. If any of you haven't seen the video, I run around naked or in my underwear. Through this event and caused quite a scene, and it was partly in the name of comedy and also partly in just very freeing and felt very like rebellious.
It was freeing, but at the same, for you it must have been like, I mean,
it felt very rebellious in a sense of like, haha, fuck you guys, and that kind of drove me to not be nervous when I was running around.
I feel like I was fortunate to have to go through it in the sense that there I am having to run and be with you and like try to get this, like try to capture it. Like, okay, what are we're not going to do this for naught. And so then we go through, and then and it feels really nice because I think a lot of times in life I might not take that type of step because I'm scared. Ultimately, would I really want to do it? But when you're doing it and I'm just having to like keep up and just like, all right, you want to run? Let's run.
Right.
Then it becomes like, it's a different sensation. So like, whereas you might be feeling very like, oh my God, how liberating and freeing. I'm feeling that too, but it's also like this weird, like, I get to hide here a bit, but be part of the, it's like seeing a rumble. What do you call rumble?
Totally.
1960s. Seeing people go at it or whatever, and then being there, but like I'm invincible, like nobody can touch me.
You are not the chaos itself.
Yes, I'm just capturing the chaos.
And you have the best seat to it all.
I have best seats to the end of the world.
Here's the thing. That's perfect in my, from my perspective, because it's easy to I've worked with people and like actors, camera people in the past, just over the years who do get really nervous in those situations, and that can be that can hold me back, because then now I'm having to worry if they're comfortable, and am I still being funny? Am I still doing the sketch? Am I making my camera person or the actors around me feel uncomfortable? And Gabriel, well, I mean, everyone I work with, my crew is very, very invincible to public events. Like they're all used to it now. But Gabriel and Jonathan both are very good at not running from a fight, and which is nice because as an actor, I don't have to. I'm not worrying about are they uncomfortable. It's just we run with it, and it was great because while it was happening, the entire time I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know where Gabriel is, because we're just running through a crowd, and I'm just thinking I'm getting glimpses of him every now and then, but I'm mostly in character, and I'm thinking to myself like, he better be getting this.
So like there's an image maybe where it's like I'm running behind like all serious and like, yeah, let's do the fucking like. By the way, I'm like laughing, smiling the whole time. Like shaking a bit, like just trying to excite. Like it's also a lot of fun. There's a certain level of like, this isn't just doing it to cause this mess. It's like it's because there's an excitement to this to the story, like to telling that joke. Like you could only tell this joke doing this, and that's a very specific angle. And you feel it.
Oh my God. And we're very good at capturing thunder in a bottle. I feel like when we understand we only have one take at something, we usually because there are, more often than not in the videos you see on YouTube, there are a lot of stunts where it's like we really only were able to do that one time or maybe twice, but a lot of the times we get it on the first, we rehearse them, but yeah, it's always, and so we keep drifting from talking about travel.
Say more of the story.
But you know what?
Okay.
You know what? That's what a conversation does. It drifts.
Was there a line? If you hadn't mentioned right now that we have to talk about travel story, I would fucking.
Well, that means we're having a good conversation. We just let it go where it takes us.
Third thing I noticed about France.
Oh yes. Are we still talking about France?
Yeah, remember that? We train all the time. Third thing I noticed about, there might not have been a third, but what ended up happening is that we went to this school and he does this like this interview. I'm just kind of like standing outside or whatever, and I'm just looking at the streets, looking at it, and I don't know how to describe it. I don't want you just, if you see it, you'll know. And then we walk out, and now we're going back to the train station. We're like, okay, let's go back to Amsterdam. That's where we live. And we missed the train, and the next train leaves at like 8 a.m. or something, and it's like maybe 12 o'clock at night at this point. So we have 8 hours.
8 hours at night.
8 hours at night in France that we have no plan on staying or anything.
Was it cold? Was it in the winter?
I do not recall being cold, but I do recall being like, fuck.
Yeah, fuck. I know that
like,
feeling.
Shit. Because you have the option of like staying and sleeping on the floor at the train station.
Awesome.
I feel like this happens...
Or being like, let's go to France. You know, we're here for 8 hours.
Right.
It's nighttime. We're in the fucking Paris. Let's go out and like hang out. What were you about to say?
No, I feel like at least once in everyone's adult life, there's a night like that of fuck, where do I sleep now?
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God,
at least once in every average adult's life, I feel like there's like, I don't know. I don't even know. I didn't even ask Jonathan. I'm just like, well, in every adult. I don't know. Have you ever had something like that happen to you?
Actually, I had a 12-hour layover in Amsterdam coming out from Italy, and I was like, all right, perfect. I'm just going to go like taste some weed at a coffee shop and check that one off the list. It's going to be great. And I went there and just had like one hit of this massive joint and was wrecked. And I took the the subway away from the airport into like Amsterdam proper to do this. And then the times are changing and the timetables are, they're not in English, but I was like, I just like deciphered it with the math of it, but it took so fucking long and it was just absolutely scary.
Oh, and you were by yourself. You were entirely
by
alone.
myself, and it was the layover was like it was like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So it was like there's no.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was just navigating the streets at that time in that state and like getting back to the airport to then like sleep at the airport a little bit, but it took a long time, and it was
too much.
It was scary.
My God!
And I was so high, and everyone knew I was high, and I'm just like, I just like felt a mess because it was just like,
have been in your head.
Here's
everyone knowing you're high.
But I was like passing out, and it's 4 a.m, and I knew my eyes were just insanely red because I checked that
at 4 a.m.
At 4 a.m,
and I'm just
you could be on crack at that point. Like 4 a.m, if I see somebody with red eyes, it's like,
you're awake.
Oh yeah, what are you doing here?
Yeah. What's going on with your red eye?
Right.
Oh my God!
But I made it and everything was okay. But that was a little harrowing actually.
See, when I get really high, I turn into what they call an Asian person.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
I'm gonna. Where's that no comment section?
Wait, sorry.
The chat disabled for this portion of the podcast.
Yeah.
We're right now. We're traveling quite a bit. We're on the road doing a tour.
You guys are seeing America.
Yeah,
we are seeing America. We've been traveling to different cities and performing a live show, which is a very interesting experience because every city we go to, they give us a couple days in that city of just soak in the city, just do nothing, So we pretty much have a hotel room and a city, and now in this age of Uber, it's like everything's at your fingertips, and so we've been meeting so many interesting people. We've met I don't know, I don't want to say anything because these are like real people. I don't know if they're listening.
Yeah. That is true. America, we've been, because I don't think I would have ever really done it. I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, there's a lot of, those dreams when I was maybe younger. I was like, I want to do a road trip across America and check out and ultimately it's like, so that would take a lot of time to do it right. That's like a month investment of my time.
Yeah, and it's good to have a lot of the logistics kind of done for you in a big way. It's like, we're definitely going to the city.
It's like, because a lot of times people do that. Like, I crossed, but then it's like they really just drove. I don't want to just drive. I want to park the car and look out at what I'm looking at. Like, I want to be at the places that we're driving across. Yeah.
Have you ever done a road trip where you just get in a car and go somewhere?
I have, but not to that extent. I've definitely done road trips. But not really.
I love doing that. I used to when I first got my car, and I think it was like the day I got my license. My friend went through a really bad breakup, and I was cast in this short film, and I was so excited to be in this short film. Nice. and then I slept in the next morning, and I missed my alarm, and I called the director, and he said we already cast the part. So I was really depressed. Yeah, we recast the part. So I was super depressed. I think I was 17 at the time. I was 17, and by the way, this director director of this film, aka just like a neighbor down the block who was doing something on his fucking high-8 camera with a couple of his disabled friends. I don't, you know. So I was really bummed out though because it's
seems like it.
You're
like 10 years later, still want to kill him.
I know. I'm like, fuck him for. Anyways, so
he reshoots.
So I was all hyped up. Yeah, I know, right?
With me.
Yeah. And dig up the original footage and insert my scenes into it. No, so my friend went through a breakup simultaneously, and that morning, like I was talking to him on the phone because we didn't have texting. You know, texting wasn't as cool back then, and he was like, "Yeah, you want to just go on some, just drive." So we drove to LA, and that was like a 6-hour trip because I'm from up north, and
that's a good trip because that gives you time to drive there and hang out. And do shit, you know?
It was great. It was as a 17-year-old, and you just go into this world. It felt like it was just a whole different experience to see the world without parental or any supervision. To just be on your own in a car with your friend.
And there's also like a rite of passage to it.
Right.
It's like that road trip is like, wait a minute, that means that you're old enough to have someone drive.
Right.
Your friends. Old enough to have a little bit of money to actually do something like that. Not just put gas, but like do shit. And it's like,
there's a clear A to B here, and like you have gone out into the wide world,
right?
And come back.
So those first road trips are like a little bit more,
You know what's funny is that like when I was that age, 17, 18, 19, those 3 years were very, very. I was just so hungry for adventure, and it sucks because I always thought that hunger would die down. And in many ways, it still hasn't. Like, I still have this, like, weird urge to, like, every now and then...
You're hitting on something real. It's real, though. Because what if we just discussed how this is a rite of passage? There's only so much of that path, though, where it becomes to start look the same. It's like maybe the first time you're driving through a cornfield, it's majestic and beautiful. Like, I remember I always knew I was going to see a cornfield. But then after, like, this, after a long time, it's a cornfield.
Yeah.
And so... maybe what you're saying is that as we get older, there's less outside experiences. If we're not really trying to do something different, we just fall into the same old trap of being,
Could be. It could be. I felt like I knew how to do adventures right back then.
But you were young and had no experience of adventure. Now you have.
That's true.
I mean, to the point where it's maybe like it's left you wounded. Type of adventures,
right? And now driving across the country, you're like, well, one, I already know I can do it.
Right.
Two, I'm gonna make it for sure, and I have multiple backup plans in my mind already.
Back in 2006, 2007, I uploaded a video, one of my first videos on YouTube, and back then people would upload video responses. It was it's one part of YouTube that really only existed in the first couple of years, and I'm kind of sad it's gone.
I remember that.
I missed that. It made it a lot more personal. It made it a lot more instead of a comment, I'm going to respond with a video. I thought that was great, but I guess there's a lot of shy people, I suppose, and you can't blame them. But
probably the algorithm was better to have other videos that are directly different things. Because it keeps the viewer still on the page.
Flow going. I understand. Yeah, I just missed that feature. But but they so this one guy who is now a very, very good friend of mine today, Sam.
Great.
He did a video response where he was laughing, and he was one of the first ever. I think he might have been my first video response I ever got. And so I started talking to him, and we ended up becoming really good friends. And I flew out to Chicago to hang out with him, and we went on a fucking road trip in his beat up Corolla or something. I forget what car he had. It was like the door, like half the doors couldn't open from the inside, and like it was very, very. And he picks me up from the airport, and we just get in the car and we just drive south from O'Hare Airport.
No plan, no nothing. It was just like
no plan, no nothing. We were heading toward Memphis, loosely. Like we're going to go in that direction. If we get to Memphis, great.
That's
beautiful. And I'm fucking 17, 18 years old.
Wait. This is the first time you meet him?
It's the first time I meet him.
And you guys said, when I get there, let's just drive south.
Let's just drive south. I have no idea who the fuck you are, but you laughed at my video.
I love that.
And you thought my video was funny. And you're the first person I've ever seen in my life laugh at one of my videos.
That's what I mean. Not you keep going.
No.
That's what I mean. That's an adventure that you took a step out of the routine. Mm-hmm. That's not an everyday thing. And I think maybe when you're younger, because you have no adventures, you want to be like, well, I'm going to find any adventure. And those any adventures become like crazy. When we get older, and it's like, I don't know how to meet somebody again and be like, I'm going to go to Memphis and no one's going. Go stuff.
Dude, after that, I started like saving up my money, and I only spent my money on flying out and meeting friends that I made through YouTube. And I went out to Florida, and I made friends.
We're going to rewind later, but let's go on.
But here's the thing. Oh my God. We made it to Memphis, Tennessee, and we ended up staying in like really, really shady, like slummy areas, like not even like Motel 6. These were like,
don't do that.
The beds made that sound.
They're like the sound of the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. And anyways, that was just it. I kind of liked feeling like I was in danger. I was young and I didn't know like where I was. I was so out of my element, and I was just very alive. And so I ended up doing like I did it quite a bit. I would just travel on my own, whether or not I knew people, the places I was going to. And that actually is why I went to France. I went to France because there was a guy who really liked my videos. He was very, very beautiful. Very, very, like, just, I fell in love with him. And so I flew out to France, and I lived with him for like a month and a half. And that was like.
I just want you to understand though. There's like, what?
I know. I don't know what the fuck I was.
It was like, and then I lived with him for months in the countryside of France. Isn't that normal? Like, no, dude, it's not normal at all. How?
No, and then like it sucked because we knew it was temporary. We knew that I had to go back to California eventually because I didn't run out of money.
Ooh.
I swear to God, I'm in love with going to like on road trips with strangers. Cause we did a road trip to Spain, and like we did that whole like we just got in a car and just drove down to Spain, and I'm like, okay, here I am again with some guy I don't know, and
Do you wonder if like the reason why those type of adventures are in a different type of special because you know that at one point you have to leave, like you got to experience something with someone that you knew had a time limit, and so therefore you're not even allowed to worry about, is this going to work? What's going to happen?
Right,
like, no,
right. It's actually very freeing.
Very freeing.
Exactly.
I like you right now. We're about to do some dope shit. Do you want to keep going?
And it painted a picture.
Awesome.
It really did paint a picture of just like, isn't that how we should just look at everything?
Do you know what maybe happens though? Maybe jealousy. Like I think like eventually you meet someone, right? And you want to be with them. But then when they start doing their own thing, I feel like a lot of people might get like, I don't want to say dependent, but there's a certain element of like you want it yours always. Well, and there's not that freeing element of like, okay, well, I'm going to be in love for 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there. It's like, I feel like you want that.
Yeah. When
you find something you want for more than just a month, it's hard to just release it again.
It is. It's very, very, very hard. There's that sad element to it, and then there's like the good side of it, where it's like it does teach you to appreciate in the moment what you have right then and there, and also to understand. And like, you know what? Sometimes times are left better when. Okay, so when we said goodbye, it was like the perfect goodbye. We're at the airport. It was like the most heartfelt, sweet goodbye.
Did you cry?
You know what? I think a sweet tear rolled down my cheek. I was a young, love-hungry ingenue.
Don't make me whip out a dictionary.
I don't even know what I'm saying.
Okay, cool. All right, then we're there.
Anyways,
ingenue, yeah. Go on.
So here's the thing. This is the point I'm sure. There's a moral to this story. We left on beautiful terms. We had a beautiful time. If you look at our relationship, if that's where it ended, where it was just like a month and a half in France, just like great time, and it ended on a lot
of acceptance of what that was on its part.
Well, a month passed, and he didn't want to end things, and so he had he'd been talking to me, and he's like, oh hey, like what if I come over there and I live with you? And so we thought it'd be a great idea, so we enrolled him in my classes.
Did you? Okay, wait.
Oh my God.
So you just passed over a little line here. Now you had thought that this was over.
I thought it was over.
All right, now someone comes back that you did have a good time. You do care for them. You do. Yeah. You don't never want to hurt them.
Right.
And they're now telling you, let's do it forever or not for longer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then now, did you feel a certain responsibility to say yes, or did you actually want them to come? Because there's a difference.
Now that's the thing. It was a little bit of both. It was a bit of like, here's a new reality that I was not prepared for. So it wasn't, had nothing.
When he came over,
it had to, when he said, can I come and live?
The question alone.
It has nothing to do with if I.
When did he ask that? Sorry. Like, were you there? Were you like, goodbye?
No. We had left. We had severed. I know, it was the beautiful goodbye. We thought that was the last time we'd see each other. We ended things.
You're away. You're kind of missing each other.
A month,
like, that was awesome.
And then a month passes. We think we're done for a month. And then he just comes at me with hey, I want to move to your hometown, and I want to, and
you're like, I've been telling everyone how beautifully tragic the ending was, and that's not
I'm
work
like,
for that
this
narrative.
story was so sad,
and you're fucking up this story, dude.
And it was a beautifully tragic ending, and you're fucking up. So there was. It wasn't that it had nothing to do with him. It was that regardless of whether or not I was in love with him, it was that. This is a new reality that's in my lap, and I have the power to make it happen simply by saying, yeah, sure. He said, I have, the money to come and do it. I can, you don't have to worry about anything. I'll take care of it. Basically he was putting me in a position of just say yes, and this can happen.
Yeah.
And I had no reason to say no. He's a very good looking guy. He's very smart.
What? Are you for real?
Well, here's the thing. I was about 19 at this time, and when you're 19 years old, you
have no more.
You have no reasons to say no. You don't understand.
You're like, we both know that in 22 we're gonna kill. We'll be fine.
No, I feel like the heart and the mind are they're an upside down hourglass in life, and I feel like the older you get, the bigger the mind gets, and the smaller the heart shrinks. And I feel like at this point in my life, we don't call this show Deep Balls for nothing. Right. Our balls get deep.
Just swinging them.
Yes. But no, at that time in my life, my heart was very heavy, and I wasn't really thinking things through. And I was like, "Oh yes, come on." So he comes over, and here's the point I'm trying to make. That whole story, the point I'm trying to make is sometimes a good story is left ended where it should have ended because the sequel was just him coming to America to spend the next year falling out of love with me, and his visa kept him here. He had a year long, so he was enrolled in my classes. You don't just fall out of someone and not fuck other people. So that was happening.
That's amazing.
And and he was. I had to meet the guys he was dating, and I had to meet.
Wait a minute. Now this is more complicated. Why didn't you guys not see each other at that point?
Well, because he was enrolled in my classes.
Oh.
And he was friends with all my friends at this point.
So
he's in my most inner social circle because all my friends love him. And keep in mind, I was not out at the time, and so
you had to lie.
So all these people, they thought of him. They thought we were just friends, and then suddenly I was in this one of the biggest heartaches ever. I was just
You're like, all right, bro.
And I had to pretend like everything was fine because no one knew that he and I were dating, and so anyways, it was a big mess, and it's like the story was beautiful before it was continued.
And there goes back to my original question: was there a red flag from the beginning? And I feel like maybe I'm self-projecting, but in most things that have ever turned out like that in my life, I knew it from the beginning. And I didn't do it because I didn't want to hurt anybody and hurt myself. By the way, it's selfish reasons too. Like, it sucks to say no.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, I don't want to lose what we have, but I can, if we go longer.
What's the bigger?
And you have to ask yourself, like, why did I do that?
Right.
Like, and then, you were trying to avoid something that was in that moment uncomfortable, and did it by putting more weight on the long term, and and making future Gabriel will take this. Future Gabriel will handle
and he'll
this.
take it. He's gonna take it hard, much harder than if you had just done it now.
Right, exactly. And sometimes it's just peeling off that Band-Aid, ripping it off. But
also I feel like I can see you just being like, interesting. When he's like, what if I came there and enrolled in all your classes? You're like, that sounds like an interesting time.
There's a plan.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, it's like how are you supposed to respond to that? And then it's like, anyway, it was just a whole mess. And airports ever since then have been a very tragic place for me. I feel like airports are either a place of great whimsy and charm because you're seeing long lost loved ones, or a place of great sadness. And I don't know. In my life, I've seen much more sadness at airports than happiness.
Admittedly, I think I felt like that until we started doing the live shows, and then it became like riding a bus.
Yeah. Now it's funny you mention that because I'm sorry, it's the seltzer water.
I
just love a burping.
Yeah.
But they're all clean. They're all clean because this is a beautiful lemon lime, caffeine free, naturally flavored. It's and it's organic.
And a little squirt of lemon antibacterial in there. So.
Yeah, right. It's wonderful. I put a little Purell in here. Not sponsored.
You should be.
What were we just talking about right now?
We were talking about how you go to the airport and
how
so
it is.
Places.
It is. You're right. Now that we're going on the tour, it does seem more like. I wouldn't say riding the bus. Yeah, maybe riding the bus. Like we're getting in the car. It's a routine. It seems more routine now than it's more connected with anything emotional. Because now airports are just something we have to get through. They are nice when you're on a cheat. Oh, I have to tell you, when you're on a cheat day, when you're having a cheat day, for those of you who watch what you eat, airports, plan your cheat day for an airport because there is nothing worse than trying to eat healthy and go to a goddamn fucking airport and see all these Red Hots and chocolate covered pretzels, and you have to sit next to these things for hours.
It's so true.
And you have to just stare at the candy shops, stare at the Panda Express, you have to stare at the caramel macchiatos for hours, and then you get on the airplane and then they have all sorts of shit on the menu that you want but you can't have, and you have to just sit there and watch fucking Coco, which I'm sorry, Gabriel, you didn't like Coco, but I thought it was a charming movie. And you're basically him.
How many people told me, they were like, dude, have you seen Coco? And I'm like, what? And then they were
because it's a
you
charming
should watch
movie.
It. You'll love it. And then I saw it, and I was like, what the fuck?
It is full of heart, and it is full of messages.
I guess.
One of them is make sure that when people die, you talk about them.
I'm an asshole. It's like those people who are like, there's music in the 70s. Jimi Hendrix, man, that's the best music that's ever existed. I feel like I'm like that for Disney movies, where I'm like, dude, fucking Lion King. That's a fucking movie.
Actually,
Coco.
I need to tell you something. Aladdin was a very good Disney movie.
Aladdin was amazing. I mean, that's what I mean. This isn't Aladdin level of like entertainment. When I saw Coco, I was like, I'm not laughing. This is more of just like history and look at about the and this is where I'm not. But it's not. It's not so relatable.
Yeah.
It's like, it was all just trying to teach us about, like, and it's special. It's a great message. I'm glad kids are growing up in that world, blah, blah. But it's like, it's no Lion King.
Why does it seem?
It's no Lion King.
It kind of feels like sometimes it's just like, no, it's just a planned out like feature, just like normal with a very precise point, and it's not just like the great story of Hamlet,
Yes.
It's
why does it seem like a lot of kids' movies these days have to have a message behind them? I mean, I don't remember necessarily a message coming with, every story has a moral. There's a moral to stories, but a message is something different.
They were always, a story will hopefully always have a message, but they weren't to the point where I feel like they were so literal. Like, they have to spell it out for you now.
Right.
Whereas
there's a lot in this, many messages in the story of Sleeping Beauty, and one specific message in Shark Tale.
Yeah.
Right. And, exactly. and that they say the message at one point in the movie, maybe multiple times, where it's like, be careful what you wish for, or whatever. I don't know. Like, treat,
Well, those morals were much more simple, too. They were just like, don't
Not
eat
that Shark Tale's wrong.
It is wrong. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
He was different, and he should not have been accepted.
Coco sucked is all I'm saying.
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
It's very much a matter of opinion. However, watch Lion King.
Lion King is a good movie. Disney. There aren't very many Disney movies that I like. The big Disney movies that I watched, and I was like, oh. I'm walking out. This is rubbish. They're essentially all the same thing. There's a protagonist who's seeking either approval or a coming of age type situation, and then a villain who's either a tyrant or an outcast, one of the two. And they try and make things horrible. Usually, the outcasts try and bring up the hero who's not feeling confident himself, and if it's a tyrant, they're trying to keep the hero down below. It's the same formula every Disney movie.
But is that true? 101 Dalmatians before my time. I think that was before. But 101 Dalmatians. The Aristocrats, Jungle Book. I feel like there was just everything now, like Frozen. I'm sorry, I'm just being judgmental.
Frozen was great though.
Frozen actually was the worst example. That actually was a good one. But
Frozen's the one with that snowman with his penis.
Yep,
absolutely.
I think I saw Frozen.
I think I
saw it at the Disneyland. I saw it live on the show.
I'm saying that too.
I saw the Broadway, what do you call it, when they do it on stage. That's all I've seen of Frozen, so that's all I know of it.
Wait, you saw that maybe at the best way to see it. I only saw it in the theater with amazing actors and a perfect environment.
I want to just say that I went to Disneyland with my little sister recently.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, like a few days ago. And it was the first time I've ever got to hang out with her one-on-one. I've never hung out with my
Wow,
sister
really?
one-on-one before. Yeah.
That's special, man.
And we got to talk. We went on the Haunted Mansion together, and she wasn't scared.
Nah, she's probably like been there.
She's actually
Saw it on YouTube.
Yeah. She's very, very, she's at this age right now where she's kind of getting confidence.
How old now?
And oh God, I want to say she's 12, 13.
Okay,
I could be wrong. I could be, she could
Your
be actually
sister
like,
is 12 or 13?
yeah, there's a big age gap
What's
between.
wrong with your family situation?
The dynamic is
I know it's all fucking fractured cookies. They're all fucking. It's a Frankenstein family. It's been like cut and sewn and cut. Yeah. No, my mom and dad split when I was young, and then my dad, they both remarried, and I got three stepbrothers from my mom's side and one stepsister from that side as well. And then my dad, I have a half sister, and that was her. So, and then I have a blood brother for only one sibling who's exact, and he and I could not be more different. We love each other, we get along great, but he and I are both we agree on no pleasure. There's not a single thing we're both like, yeah, that's. I mean, we have the same sense of humor, but we really don't like. We're not a fan of the same things. He's a computer programmer, and he doesn't.
Yeah. Got it.
He's
computer
very,
programmer.
Those guys. Yeah, I got him when I was in high school. I made him a magnet, and it says it's a little computer, and it says
a
magnet, like a fridge magnet. And it was really cool. It was so cool. It was this fluorescent looking computer, and in the screen it says "My perfect programmer."
Is this an awe moment, or am I still trying to find?
That's the end of the story. That's the climax of the story.
So you got a magnet that said "perfect."
And everyone was
programmer.
uncomfortable.
My perfect fuck
is this?
Well, I didn't make the magnet. I actually found it at a thrift store, which makes it like making it because it's like a one of a kind still. So it's like I made it.
Saw this, thought of you, whatever.
And it said "My perfect programmer," and I thought that was a real connecting moment.
And when I handed it to him, he tried to take it from me. I just held
cried.
on for an extra couple seconds.
Well, see. Yeah. I think the trash can held onto it more than his hand did. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks,
I think
bro.
he still has it somewhere. But no, and he lives. Here's the thing. Here's the titter. He lives in Seattle, which is our next city that we're going to. Well, by the time this airs, we will have already. Will we have already?
Yes, we will.
Yeah, because that's this weekend. And let me tell you, for those of you listening, it was a great show. You should see whatever shows coming up in the future at BrandonRogersLive.com.
Spectacular.
It's a great show. It's an hour long of comedy, and then another 3 hours to wait in line to meet me for some reason. Some of these shows, we leave like 4 hours after we walk out on stage.
Yeah, we get there.
Yeah,
we get there early. We get there 4 hours before we go on. So we're probably there a good like 8 hours or maybe 6.
I'm just gonna make up a number, but it feels long.
We are there like
good.
it's an impressive number.
At least.
But yeah, no. This whole what overall? What is your experience? We've done 10 cities already, all across North America, and what is your take on just seeing the country in such a we saw so much of the country this summer? What is your take on what you've seen?
Yeah. So what was weird is I think I'd heard of every place. So I'd never been to any of these places. It was strange because every place you picked out or that we went to, I'd never physically been there and left the airport. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the point of that? Oh, but I'd heard of all of them. I've heard of Chicago.
Right,
Who the fuck hasn't?
Right,
I've heard of Oregon. Right. We'll play Oregon Trail.
I know Oregon. I played the trail game.
Did I just date myself? Oregon Trail, people, great game. Anyways, so that was strange to go to places that I'd heard of most of my life. But then I noticed, and I've always thought this anyways, that we were talking about Europe earlier and the United States, is that even though we are the same country, we're definitely a different vibe. A different country every time we go to a different place.
Mm-hmm. Right. The culture is vastly different between the states.
Very. And then there was a part of me that was I guess I'm not going to see it the same way as somebody who lives there. If you go to Oregon, it's just because we went there and we stayed for 3 days doesn't mean I have any real reference of what it is to be from there. But
I have to say, I would like to say, I'd like to add my 2 cents in what I think about this country.
Oh, yeah. Let's finish that, I didn't brief. It's a great place. I like. Overall, I just had a.
Oh, no. I thought I wasn't making fun of. I think that this country is, I don't know. I really think that there's a lot of more beauty in it than I thought there was before I started going on this tour. I had certain, because a lot of these cities I've never been to, I had certain connotations about them, thinking like, oh, Tampa's probably going to be like this, Seattle's probably, but then I go to these places and they're really like, they're hospitable in different ways, which is crazy, which makes it so much more authentic. Like the people were so hospitable in Houston, but totally different than the hospitable people in Tampa. Like both of which were very sweet people. And then in Chicago, everyone there was super kind and friendly, but there was a different type of, So,
and you know what's funny?
And they were all people.
Yeah. Like every now and you'd meet somebody like from these places, and then they'd be like, "Oh, so what do you think of whatever's?" And then and I'd be like, "Oh, everybody's real nice," and they'd be like, "Yeah, well, you got to hang out this," like everybody.
Right, they hate it themselves.
They hate themselves. But then I'm looking around like I get it. They have to be. There's a certain level of like we're experiencing something that we're not getting normal. Like a lot of nice energy is getting thrown our way, but at the same time.
Well, you live anywhere. You live anywhere long enough, you're gonna meet someone who. I'm sorry, the seltzer fucking water. I finished the can, so that should be the last of them.
It won't be.
But yeah, there's always one Uber driver who's like really fed up with all the shit of the city, and they're just like, "Let me tell you about this shithole you like so much." But really, it's like, no, I think LA really like. I think if any of them came to LA, they might think, "Wow, this is a shithole." Because in LA, I think the people out here are friendly. I think they're easy to talk to, but I also think that they're LA is one of the least not hospitable, not social, but one of the least like next door neighborly, friendly kind of a chummy, compared to these other cities. It seems like almost every other city we've gone to, we were met with some extra level of like conversation or how's your day, kind of a mentality.
I don't know if it's our energy that's bringing that about, because I definitely
you're going to a show and then you're going to living in a hotel.
Right. I noticed that when we go to a new city, I also treat people a little differently. I treat people like I'm at someone else's, like almost like when you go to someone else's house and you're a little, you're polite. It's almost like sometimes when I go to these cities, I find myself being more like respectful or more perky with the people I have to like meet and greet than people that I see in LA. And I don't know, that could also be like adding to my perception of it as well. Like maybe I just, who knows? But the fact of the matter is, I think that this country I've met so many kind and amazing people on this tour, and it's just so nice to go out and see how decent people are in different ways.
At least that there's decent people in every place we've been. There is no place where I would just scratch off the map and be like, those motherfuckers. Like it was like, no, there's human beings. We're all human beings.
Yeah. There were a handful of assholes in Philadelphia. That I'll give. That I'll give.
It was strange. You had more interaction. So I remember that particular trip. I didn't meet as many people as you, and so I didn't have that represent. But I did know that they weren't easy to laugh. That's for damn sure.
It was, and I don't want to say it because like the crowd that came and saw us, if anyone's listening to this, the crowd that came and saw us in Philadelphia, you guys are all sweethearts. Someone's dad was a dick. But other than that, someone's dad did not like the show at all and made it very clear afterward.
Yeah, the thing is really like, what's the makeup of the parents who came to these shows?
The parents are actually some of the coolest people in the crowd because
the kids. Fuck.
They're like, Mom!
I don't know. Philly children, they're just bad.
I love watching parents throw their kids under the bus when they like if a kid recognizes me and they go like, oh my God, that guy's on YouTube. And the kid doesn't come up and ask for an autograph or a picture, the parent will always come up and be like, my son's too embarrassed to ask.
Yeah. And I need to get this done.
Yeah, and that doesn't look any better. You're just like, Mom, if you're going to do that, then you just fucking...
Right. I feel so bad for the kid. And so like, I always like... And then I give them a hard time. I don't know why. I always make fun like, don't be shy. I don't know. Like those people
touch them a bit.
Touch it. What?
Just break the ice.
Hello.
No, I like making people feel uncomfortable. If anyone at the live show like volunteers their friend for anything, I always pick the person who volunteers. It does add a level of paranoia when I go to these places because, like, usually when I was a kid, I used to as a child I used to love the idea of whenever we'd go on vacations, I could be whoever I wanted when I was on vacation because none of these strangers around me knew me or will ever see me again. Now when I go to cities and let's say I'm a little drunk or I'm a little high or whatever, there is an extra level of paranoia now because I can't necessarily enjoy the element of anonymity. Is that right? Did I say that right? Anyways,
anonymity.
I'm no longer. I'm no longer a ghost necessarily everywhere that I go, and so it started like a year and a half ago. I think it was like 2 VidCons ago. I got really drunk. Maybe it was his last VidCon. There was a VidCon that you and I, or maybe it was you and I, one of you guys and I got really plastered, and we're walking. No, I think it was you, Gabe, because we're walking back to. It was when we walked back to the hotel, and I blacked out. I think we both blacked because I don't think either one of us remember actually getting back to the hotel. But I remember when I opened up Instagram the next morning, people were like. They tagged me in something, or they were commenting on something. Anyways, people like ran into us when we were really drunk.
Oh shit!
So like stuff like that gets me paranoid. Or I've seen people
okay, so you're telling me that I can't remember, but there's photography,
not of you.
No. I'm saying what a horrible feeling that is. It's like to wake up. First off, I don't remember what happened. But
let me scroll through my tags to find out.
That's obviously an extreme example. But like if I when I go like let's say like before this channel blew up, when I go to the Starbucks in the morning, I wouldn't necessarily get ready because I didn't care what people thought of me. So now it's like a little different. It's like I'm a little paranoid. Like I was already paranoid then. Like if now it's different and. Yeah, it's just like whenever I drink or smoke, I have to be careful of walking out into the street I don't think anyone older than me knows who I am, so that's always nice.
And you gotta go to more places where they don't speak English, and
Yeah, like I'm at a level right now still where
it's true.
Where like most places you go where people drink nowadays I'm getting recognized, but like not as much because there aren't as many like young people who go like on bar crawls or and so it is I don't know
bar crawls.
Well, I mean, maybe now that I'm already 30.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They still do a bunch of stuff all over the time. It's like those kids are even doing more shit, probably.
Damn it! Doesn't it feel like they do more shit than what we? Maybe
we did our thing, but there's just a lot of things going on. It's like there's just different options.
Have more options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god! And kids
and to do the things that we did, but better.
Sometimes it feels. Well, I debate that though. Because it's like the whole cell phone influence is a part of reality. Like there was a time period where we were all alive that we didn't have a chance to take a photo of it, and that the memory is a memory. And maybe we had those disposable ones, but like really, I mean, you lost those things over the years. Like or you didn't develop them. Like
no one has anything from a disposable camera.
I have at least 10 times where I've used a disposable camera and never developed the fucking film.
I used to love taking pictures with disposable cameras.
No, me too.
Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, this is a travel story. Look at this.
The topic.
My grandfather, before he passed, he took me and my brother on these like trips across the country in like a truck and a trailer, and we would just get in this thing and just travel. And he gave us each. The only thing he gave us was a giant Ziploc bag, my brother and I, and they were filled with those disposable cameras. And it was like
that's a great
just
gift.
A bunch of those Kodak.
That's a great gift.
And we had so much fun, like having to what do you call it? Like ration the pictures left in the little wheel because you only had like 20 pictures a camera.
Right.
So like you had to like ration out like okay we have like this many photos left. Okay, we still have the Grand Canyon that we're going to see. And I would just go there. And at that time, the internet wasn't a thing, so it wasn't like, I can just go home and Google a picture of the Grand Canyon. I would go to the Grand Canyon and just take a picture of it because that was special to me.
On a disposable camera.
On a disposable camera, which one of the most it's terrible. It's terrible.
Those photos, they're just in like a big collage in your hallway, and it's just like a photo from really far away.
Right. And I just remember I was so excited. That was so cool to me that I could like travel the country and take pictures that like no one else was taking these photos. And meanwhile, like 2 years later, Google would come out and start.
It was Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves. You remember
Jeeves,
that fucker?
Dude. That's the first one that I remember. And it was like some butler, and you'd have to Google everything in the form of a question.
That's right. Or
at least I did, because my brain was like, if you're asking him, you have to ask it. So I was like,
Jeeves doesn't like statements.
Jeeves, don't tell me what to do, master. Ask
you can just
me.
write,
He was I wonder what happened to him. Him and MapQuest.
I think it was the confusion of the asking, whereas, like, for example, to ask Jeeves about the Grand Canyon, you'd have to be like, what is the Grand Canyon? Like, everything had to be like Jeopardy, like in the form of, whereas like Google was just write Grand Canyon.
You know, as a
maybe you could always do that. Maybe
I feel like a lot of people.
I think the question part really fucked me up.
I remember the first search engines.
Well, here's what I
maybe that's the first one I did.
If you look at all of the successful, I feel like bright colors and words like boop beep and dot doop and like startups that are just
no one
very
says those
simple.
words anymore.
Yeah.
Like Google. It's just red and yellow and it's bright. It's Google. Just Google it. It's so simple. Like we as a society love the more simple, brightly colored keys dangling in front of our face, and I feel like. I don't know, that's why we went with Google.
Google was amazing.
When that thing came out versus this brown website with this overweight man who rapes kids asking you, what do you want me to find today? No, I'm going to Google it.
Ask Jeeves is one of our sponsors, by the way. Thank you very much, Ask Jeeves.
They might still be around.
Well, let's ask them.
Hey, ask. Jeeves.
Jeeves.
Are you one of our sponsors?
Oh, Jesus. Well, no, we don't have any sponsors yet because at this time, we're not even on the air yet.
Whoa.
We are still underground. No one knows about Deep Balls as we record this.
It's just us three.
Well, you guys,
forever. Let's make a pact. It'll only ever be us three that ever know about this.
We're just going to make.
We
this
might
podcast.
end up wishing it was that. Let me tell you.
We'll spend the next. Take the rest of our lives. We'll divide it in two. The first half we'll record these. The second half we'll listen to them.
Nice. That's a plan.
It's a good way to
actually
record for another.
That would be it's like a time capsule.
Are you kidding me? I just described hell.
Oh yeah, never mind.
And you're like, yeah,
I'm just saying we should consider hell.
Yeah. I'm just saying I'm not against it. Anyways, I feel like I want to start thanking sponsors, but I officially. Well, you know what?
Thank you, Brandon Rogers Live.com for sponsoring this.
I don't know. Fuck all that.
Thank you.
Here's how I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out thanking things that make me feel good. Okay, I'd like to just because until we have sponsors, I'd like to just appreciate. Calling back to Gabriel's point, a day with an orange hue in the nice autumn season. I'm very. I'd like this episode is brought to you by beautiful, warm orange days in the autumn, as well as Jonathan's warm memory of being shipped around the country as a military brat.
Nice. I'm sure he loves that, by the way, that description.
Yeah, it's pretty traumatic to discuss.
Yeah, it was, and this show was brought to you by both those things, and French gay sex, and there we go. I think I covered closeted French gay sex.
Military autumn gay sex.
Yes, it's what a wonderful show. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you had a great time. I hope that this broadcast has meant as much to you as it's meant to me. And I'd like to thank my hosts, Jonathan Gonzalez and Gabriel Hinman. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. What a great time.